else had a profound effect in your life? I can tell you for me, I moved to Kansas City when I was a sophomore in high school. I went to a very large high school, and a lot of these kids had grown up on the football team. They'd played together in Pop Warner. They'd played together in, we called it junior high. You now call it middle school. They had just grown up together. They had been all as a unit. And then here comes this kid from out of town. And this kid from out of town doesn't fit in. Here I was, the outsider. But yet, there was one coach that paid attention to me for some reason. Because, I mean, I was like way down. I started out like on, I don't know how many strings there were, 30, 40, whatever it was. I was on the bottom. And I remember the day he said to the head coach, he said, "You ever going to put this kid in there? He's caught every ball you've thrown within 5 yards of him in drills, and you've never let him run it down." And had he not done that, had he not gotten me in that lineup, I would have never had a chance to play. And I needed that currency because I was an outsider. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any way to fit in. And as the next 2 or 3 years went by, he turned out to be a profound influence in my life. He was a protector of mine. He was a mentor of mine. He kept me in high school. Even after the football season is over, your senior year, I swear I would have dropped out because I was bored with school. It had nothing to offer me. I had no interest in it. But he made sure, even though he had no use for me, he had already transferred to another school. He was doing something else. He made sure I got up and went to school every day. He made sure that I stayed the course. I didn't get along with the head coach. I didn't get along with some of those guys that were in power at the time. When it came time for recruiting, he got together with me. He got together with my parents, and he sent my tapes out. He was a pivotal person in my life. I respected that man. He taught me about hard work. He taught me about integrity. And here was a guy that just out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of athletes, he reached out to this kid from out of town and had a profound impact and made me feel good about who I was, made me believe in myself on that football field, made me believe in myself as a student, made me believe in myself as someone that had a future. It was Coach John Davis at Shawnee Mission North High School in Kansas City. A fine man and a fine football coach. He eventually went to Shawnee Mission South, and I stayed in touch with him. I stayed in touch with his family after he recently passed away. A pivotal person in my life. So who were they for you? For me, my father was both positive and negative. You know, I've said he was a bad alcoholic, which role modeled a lot of bad things for me. But at the same time, he was one of the hardest working people in my entire life. I never saw anybody work as hard as he did. When he was sober, there was no machine gun nest he wouldn't charge. There was no hill he wouldn't climb. There was nothing he wouldn't do to provide for his family. There was no task that would intimidate him. And as you think about the people in your life, know this: there is a purpose for everyone you meet. Some people come into your life to test you, some to teach you, some to use you, and some to bring out the very best in you. It's your job to know the difference. And as you go through all the people that you've encountered, all the people that you've come to know, figure out who these pivotal people are. Now, why is this so important? Why am I spending so much time on getting you to figure out what have been the 10 most defining moments in your life? The 7 most critical choices you've made, and the 5 most pivotal people you've ever met? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because these are the external factors that have shaped the identity of who you are. We talk about self-worth, self-esteem, identity. but we always talk about it in the abstract. We don't break it down in terms of how we got to be that way. Maybe you go through life angry. Maybe you go through life with a chip on your shoulder. Maybe you go through life managing people by intimidation. Maybe you're a people pleaser. Maybe you go through life just whatever it takes. Tell people what they want to hear. Go along. Don't assert yourself. Don't make waves. Because maybe if you don't make waves, people will let you stay around. Everybody has a philosophy. Everybody has a way of staying in this world. But we never know exactly why we are that way instead of some other way. Some people are leaders. Some people are followers. Some people are supporters. Some people are those that just have to be out front and be the center of attention. But it's critical that you understand why you turned out to be the person that you are, the personality that you are. Why things that matter to you matter and things that don't matter to you don't. If you're listening to this and right now you've got 2 kids and your mother or father are raising them, their grandparents are raising them instead of you because you're into drugs and alcohol, have you ever asked yourself why? Why other people you went to school with, finished college, got a career, driving a nice car, wearing nice clothes, giving money to charity, making contributions to their community, and you, on the other hand, are sucking the life out of everything that you touch? Or maybe you're the one that's a constant giver, and you're looking at these people over here that are just takers. They just bleed society. They come in the room and it feels like somebody left. Everybody talks about it, but nobody understands how you got to be that way. When you identify your 10 defining moments, 7 critical choices, and the 5 pivotal people that have written on the slate of who you are, you're going to begin to understand how you got to be who you are as you're listening to my voice right now. And that is critically important because it's going to unlock the mystery of whether or not you are living who you are authentically meant to be, or if you are living an assigned life that you were expected to live, that your parents wanted you to live, that your family expected you to do, that life just expected you to do. If your dad was in the pipe fitters union and you were just expected to get in the pipe fitters union when you grew up. If your mother was a nurse and you were just expected to be a nurse. Is it what you really wanted to do? Is what you're doing right now what you really want to do? And here's the biggest danger. What if you spend your entire life working to achieve something you don't want? What if you become the best architect in your state and win all of these architectural awards, and you get to the end of your life and somebody says, "Congratulations, you lived your life and became the best architect the state has ever seen." And you're sitting there thinking, yeah, but it isn't even almost what I wanted to do. I didn't give a damn about architecture. It was just kind of assigned to me by life. I took an aptitude test one time. They said, you're good at drawing buildings, and I became an architect. But it isn't what I wanted to do. It was what I was expected to do. I don't want that to happen to you. And this breaks down the external factors that shape you like cattle going through a chute. Got a big herd of cattle out on an open range. You got all these cowboys driving the herd, and they're driving them into a chute, and they all pass through that chute so they can be counted. Have the external factors in your life been driving you through a chute? Are you doing what you really want to do? Or are you being driven? Are you being driven through a chute?